Hi guys, so I just finished a class with one of my students, and I had a new student today, and something that I always ask my new students is, well, first of all, I speak about their history with English. So what have they done up to now in English? What was the best? Another question I ask is also, what was the best level that they've ever had in English? Maybe the highest level that they've had in English is right now, and that's fantastic. Or maybe it was actually before, maybe it was 10, 15, 20 years ago, and then they've slowly lost level until then. So I always like to find out a bit of history about their contact with English and their personal English story, let's say, and how they got to where they are now. And then I ask them about where they are now. And one key thing to ask every single student, this is something that you need to ask yourself as well. First of all, why are you studying English? Why do you want to improve English? Why are you practicing English? What is it that you want to go to? And then ask yourself also, what is your biggest frustration in English? What is the one thing that if you could make one aspect of your English perfect, what would it be? And really that will give you an idea of what you need to learn, and more importantly, how you need to learn and how you need to practice. So I asked my new student that very question. I asked her, what is your biggest frustration in English? And she said what most English learners say when they say that they're frustrated with something. It tends to be related to speaking or fluency. And she said, speaking. I really want to improve my speaking. It's the one thing that's stopping me from being very comfortable with my English. She's got pretty good English. And I said, okay, fantastic. That's really good that you've identified what your biggest frustration is, because when you know what your biggest frustration is, then you know what you need to practice. And I said, so what are you doing about your biggest frustration? What are you doing to improve it? And she said, well, now, first of all, remember, her biggest frustration was speaking, okay? Or a lack of confidence, lack of comfort when speaking in English. And I asked her, what thing are you doing? What are you doing to get rid of that frustration? And she said, okay, well, you know, I read lots of books in English. I said, fantastic. And I watch lots of films and series in English. So I have the subtitles in my language, but I watch lots of films and series and read lots in English. And I said, okay, well, that's fantastic that you're doing those things, but they're going to do zero to help you with your biggest frustration. In fact, they may very well be the cause of your biggest frustration. So this is the thing, when you're practicing, it always needs to be with the idea of improving or getting rid of your biggest frustration. So removing a frustration or improving one of your weaknesses. So your frustration generally is your weakness. Her biggest frustration or her weakness is not feeling comfortable speaking in English, so a lack of fluency in English. Now the things that she's doing on a daily basis don't help these at all. So she's not comfortable speaking, she doesn't have fluency, and everything that she's doing is everything but speaking. So ask yourself the question, what does she really need to do every day? Exactly, she needs to speak every day. She needs to speak on a daily basis. If she doesn't speak, if she doesn't attend to that lack of fluency, she will always have that frustration. And everything else that she's doing, which is very good, she needs to be reading, she needs to be watching films and series in English and listening in English. It's very good, it's fantastic. But they're not addressing her biggest problem, her biggest frustration, which is a lack of comfort speaking and a lack of fluency. So what she needs to do, and I told her, you need to speak every day. You need to speak every day to increase that fluency. Continue your reading, it's fantastic. Continue watching films and series in English, continue listening. But if you only do those, you will always have this big frustration, which is your lack of speaking skills. So I'm going to ask you the question, what is your biggest frustration? What is the one thing that's holding you back from making amazing progress in English? What's the one thing that's holding you back from feeling really comfortable and confident in English? Now, I'm sure you've thought of that straight away. Think about it. Have that thing in your head. Is it listening? Is it speaking? Is it pronunciation? And then ask yourself this question. What are you doing on a daily basis to get rid of that problem? How are you practicing in English right now? What are you doing in your life right now to get rid of that frustration, to improve that weakness? What are you doing? And then you need to ask yourself, do the things that I do every day to remove my frustration actually, are they related to my frustration or not? So if all of the practice that you're doing isn't what your biggest frustration is, you will always have that frustration. So what's the key? You always need to practice that which you find most uncomfortable, that which you feel least confident doing, which is always going to be your biggest frustration. If your biggest frustration is speaking, most of the way that you practice needs to be speaking. Okay? You can do other things as well. You can read, you can listen, you can write. It's all fantastic. Continue doing that. But you must make sure that you're doing things on a daily basis that are going to attack and address and get rid of that frustration. Okay? So you should always practice that which you find most uncomfortable. You should always practice that which you find most difficult to do. You should always practice that which is your biggest frustration. So, leave a comment, okay? Tell me what your biggest frustration is and tell me what you're doing about it. Are you addressing that frustration in the right way, or are you doing nothing about it? Okay? Now, the reason I do these videos, the only reason I do what I do is to help frustrated English learners. Now, that's all I want to do. Everything else is secondary. It breaks my heart when I have frustrated English learners in my class. All I want to do, the way I teach, is to remove this frustration so that you can continue to make progress and enjoy the process. Because really, you always need to make progress and you always need to enjoy the process. So the only reason I'm making these videos is to help people like yourself, to help you. If you can think of somebody that's frustrated with their English and you think this video might help them, please share it with them, send it to them in a message, send it in an email, whatever. Share it with them and try and help somebody. If I've helped you, then it would be great if you could help another person by sharing this video with them. If you like this video, please click on like, leave a comment, tell me what your biggest frustration is, and I'll try and help you. And don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Now, in the next video, well, not in the next video, but I will be linking to a video in this one, which is giving you tips on how you can improve your fluency on a daily basis. So there are some very, very simple exercises that you can do speaking that you don't need to be with other people. So I'm going to put a link to that video in this video. You should see it in a moment. And watch that and enjoy it. Leave a comment, subscribe and share this video with somebody who's frustrated. Take care. Bye-bye.